This is Soul Conversations with Sandra, the podcast, special edition. We are tuning in and turning up the volume today. We're having coffee. Yep, I got my coffee right here. So it's coffee, tea, and us. It's going to be myself and Queen Starseed, also known as Casey Ross. And she'll be coming in a few minutes. We'll be hanging out and just having, like Saturday morning before the day starts, right? So we're going to tune in and tap in. And here she is right now. I'm going to give her a wave. And then I'm going to invite her in. Lindsay, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you look so gorgeous this morning.
Thank you. So do you. I was already out and did some things. There's a $2 dress day for this used clothing place. So I got the little notification this morning. I'm like, Tiara Justice, let's go. You can pick up 4 dresses.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Which ones did you pick out?
They're out. I could go get them.
Yeah, can we?
Yeah, they're super cute.
Do you think she would mind us seeing them?
No. I'm locked in my room. Romeo, can you let me out? See, I took my lock off my door because this one wasn't locking and I went to go switch it. And then I haven't put it back on yet. So now I keep getting locked in my room. Romeo? Romeo! I'm locked in. Sorry for yelling.
That's all right. If they're up in the morning, they're doing things too.
Yeah, here it's 12 though, so we've been up for a long time.
Oh, that's right. I just woke up this morning, so hold on a second. For me, this hangout, we're telling more followers to join. It's still kind of going across your forehead.
Oh, okay.
So it's I'll
be right back.
Yeah. Hello. Rob Joe's photos. I'm sorry. But welcome anyway. Casey and I are just going to be talking. We're going to be talking.
Yeah, I know.
Women's stuff, masculine, feminine stuff. We're going to be talking about our gifts and our talents that sources open up. We're just going to have a good time. So I hope you join us and have fun.
Okay. So this one.
Oh, that's cute. That's like camouflage.
Right? And then the cute little designs on it. The stars.
Yeah.
We love stars. This one she loved because of all the emojis on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see them. Yeah. Oh, those are so cute. She's got taste, girl.
He really does. This one is size 4, so it won't fit her too long, but it was too cute. I had to get it for $2.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
$2. And they're like brand new.
I could see her in that with a headband with a crystal in it.
Yes.
Right?
Oh.
Ooh, that's my color.
Yeah. This is a nice summer. Sorry, what?
I'm coming to Canada to get that. That's my color.
And this is really cute because it's a maxi dress, a long one for her.
Ooh, that's good for the beach, huh?
Yeah. And then this one. She was only supposed to get 4. We ended up getting 6, but it's okay.
It's okay. Your circulating currency is going to come back to you. Oh, that's now, is that a rose on there? Is that an embroidered red? Is that a red rose?
No, it's a bird.
Ooh, phoenix?
I'm not sure what kind of bird, but it's a bird.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. I'm going to put them back out there because she'll probably be like, where's my dresses?
Okay.
And then we got little beach shoes.
Ooh, those are too cute.
Yeah. For $5. Cute. I am a bargain shopper, so I was pretty happy.
Okay, guys, tell me how I can get rid of this bar that's tap it and go away.
Oh, I'll show you what I got myself yesterday. Little beach hat.
You know what? I'm going to have to disable the comments for a little bit because I can't see you.
Oh.
So, and there, I don't know. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
all right.
Sarah.
I think as more people come in, that
thing goes away.
Go away. Okay, so it's almost gone now.
You see my new hat I got? Ooh.
That's cute.
I know. Look at this.
Oh my God! Can you put it on that way? Let's see what it looks on. Gorgeous. Hello, Queen. How are you? Oh,
but I love it because the ponytail. You can keep your hair still in a ponytail, right?
You know what? I wonder how. I wonder. You said it was a vintage store, right?
Not that hat. That hat I got from Winter or Marshalls.
Marshalls. Okay, we got Marshalls out here.
Yeah.
I want it in orange.
The hat, it probably will be. But when I went to Las Vegas, I went to the store called Ross. It's funny because your last name is Marshall and mine is Ross. I went to the one that was called Ross's or something, and that one is way better than what we have here. And it's like a Winners, except it has way better product in it.
Oh, I'm going to tell you, my daughter and I are, oh my goodness. When we used to have, we would do Saturday and Sunday would be our days to like get up early. It would be myself, my daughter, and my granddaughter. And we would get up early. We go run our errands, whatever we have, and I mean early. I mean, for us, it's like we're out of the door by 8 o'clock, right? And we just, go run our errands, and then we go to Marshall's. We go to TJ Maxx, which is a sister store of Marshall's. And we go TJ Maxx, Ross, and we go, and our favorite store, Target.
They tried to bring Target to Canada, but it wouldn't last because it wasn't like it went like bankrupt, or it wasn't like the value like here. They had to charge more money, so nobody was using it like they would in the States.
Right. But even now, and this is not to do anything political. We're not starting a political rant for anybody that's in the thing. It's just the 3 years that we had COVID, and the fact that the trucks weren't moving as they normally did, and everything, the cost of things did go up. Mm-hmm. You would figure that places like Target and Marshalls would their prices would go down because they know most people are having problems, but no. The reason why is they're trying to get that product from wherever it comes to for them, and because the trucks aren't moving and it's costing more for gas and everything, they have to pass that on, but still, even now, I will go. Target has some amazing colors when talking spring and summer.
Oh, okay.
That you wouldn't necessarily, as far as I'm concerned, you wouldn't necessarily get in a major department store that's really overhead. I mean, all they're doing is making overhead. All they care about is the profit. So I love Marshalls. I love TJ Maxx. And TJ Maxx is a little bit higher priced than Marshalls, but I still love it because they have little eclectic things. Mm-hmm. Things that you might not find, things that you wouldn't necessarily. Speaking of color, I love the blue and orange. Thank you. And I'm going to stand up so you know why I do this, okay? I hope you'll be able to see. Let's see if I can.
Ooh, the shorts. Oh, is it shorts or pants? I love them.
They're called, what do you call them?
The wraparound?
They're the long pants, elephant pants.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I like how she said Marshall and Ross, divine.
Yeah. Isn't that synchronicity? The fact that we even started talking about them without even thinking what our last names
Yeah.
were, you know.
Oh,
But yeah, so we would go out and we go and do these things, and then we go have breakfast and just spend the day. That was really just awesome. I think I go back to, and I used to say, man, this is 3 generations. If anybody could see, this is first three generations living in a household together, and I got to watch my daughter raise my granddaughter. And actually, it was, for me, it felt good because I don't know if you remember in the Bible, and this is when I
I
was
wouldn't
growing up.
remember.
Huh?
I didn't study it.
No, okay. You didn't remember because you didn't study it. I remember when I was growing up in the Baptist church as a child. I remember one of the pastors having uh, a speech or a talk or whatever they call it, whatever, and he quoted a part of the Bible that says, uh, uh, "Raise your." I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember that. Raise your children in the way to go, and then when they grow, you'll see the fruit of it. And it was wonderful for me to see the fruit of my daughter from me
Raising hers.
raising hers,
Yeah.
right? Or hearing, you would hear my daughter say, well, when I grew up with your grandma, that stuff wouldn't fly. Grandma said one thing, it was once, and by the time she might get ready to say it a second time, we already know the look and we've already changed the direction, and I'm going, oh, so damn, I did a pretty good job.
Yeah, you made an impact.
Right.
It's funny because like I think of that with my boys and my daughter, and like they're 9 years apart, right? But with like from my youngest to Tierra Justice, and with the boys, the look worked. I'd give a look, and they knew. There was counting. There was like I wouldn't get to 3. With her, it's nowhere near the same. It's not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think the way we've learned it, I think the way that I don't know. Let's see how I can say this without rubbing anybody the wrong way or triggering anybody, because this is not a conversation that I want to trigger anybody. It's an inclusive conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just from my perspective, everyone who's in here. My perspective is when something happens to someone that can eventually get into a position that can cause effective change, whether the change is profoundly for your greater good or not. We usually do those changes based on how we've lived a certain lifestyle. Like for a lot of children who have grown up and had their own children now, if their parents told them no too many times, or what they feel is no too many times, they will say, I'm not going to ever say no to my child. But they will take it to an extreme instead of taking it and saying, okay, there's going to be some times that I have to tell my child no. There's going to be some times that I have to show my children boundaries. They're going to be, let's say, I'll give an example. My mother, there were things that my mother would put us on punishment for, and there are things that my mother would pop us in the mouth for. Number one, she didn't like liars. She didn't. If she stepped into the conversation with you and asked you for the truth, and you gave her a lie, and then she went to bat for you based on that lie, and then found out it was a lie. It wasn't like, it was like, step up. What happens now? And she would pop you in your mouth, not hard, not with her knuckles, just with and she would, and it worked for me. Right. And I think it worked for my sisters because we didn't like that vibration. But my brothers were a little bit more hard headed.
I think with what you're saying too, it's like I think environment makes a difference. You know, like in my situation, like having two big brothers for my daughter, right? It made the difference where when I was raising them, it was just the two of them. So there was no other influences to like learn how to, because as they got older, obviously, you know, it changed from when they were little, but she witnessed that too, right? So I think environment makes a difference as well. And then like, you know, the outside environment, like how you said, like with your mom, that would work. But then as times change, that
It,
doesn't work with the kids, right? So
it was, it took longer for my brothers to point than it did me and my sisters, because that vibration, we didn't like that vibration. So
yeah,
we took it down, because that's all it is vibration. I mean, if I could say it now. But at the same time, we grew up as stair steps, even though there was a significant space between my older brother and sister and my baby sister, which everything was off the table. By the time my mother had my baby sister, she was literally in her 40s. She was
yeah,
literally, I need help. But, you know, myself and my brother and my older sister were that help that was needed, because we watched how my mother raised us and what type of boundaries that she wanted to have. And like my little sister, my younger sister, she didn't want any boundaries. She was just the kid that was like, no, I didn't want any boundaries. And when you tried to impose boundaries on you, she had all these like, oh, I'm the black sheep of the family. Nobody likes me. I mean, she would run away like once every week. She would put everything in a paper bag and she'd run up the street. And of course, we had to go get her. But, you know, it was, as times change, the the choices that we make as children as we grow up are the choices that we make as adults when we start raising when and if we start raising our,
yeah.
right? So now we've got like we had a generation who raised their kids and they didn't want to give their kids boundaries. They wanted their kids to just be free and whatnot, you know. And then when their kids got to be teenagers and they wanted to reel them in, there wasn't a real end point, because their kids as teenagers were saying, wait, you want to put boundaries on me now?
Now
When you
as a teenager,
right
yeah.
now when you never gave us any before, what? And literally, I've had friends who were, you know, who are younger than I am, because I embraced everybody. So I have
Me too.
literally one of my best friends is like, she's in her 40s. She's the same age as my daughter, but we're just best friends. We get it. We're single parent. She's a single parent. She's blah blah blah. You know, she gets all the you know, the kind
Yeah.
of.
No, I understand. When I was at work, like I told you about the Brenda, okay, you remind me of Brenda. When I worked at my old office, like when we were actually in the office, she was my best friend, and she had her 65th birthday in the office, and we resonated so much with each other, with just like how you and I do, like with like different lifestyle and stuff like that. And yeah, I told everyone she was my best friend forever, and still close friend.
This young lady, her name is Amber, and Amber is like, she gets me. She
Yeah.
knows she knows when I'm thinking about her, and she'll just call. It's just synchronicity. She'll just call, and sometimes she'll go, okay, what's up, girl?
That's
I
that
got
soul connection too.
I got your message, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. We have some stuff going on with my granddaughter, and you know, and that's kind of personal, because it involves another person. I can't, but it, you know, that's why I am very strong and want to figure out more positive ways to address mental illness, because I don't believe that mental illness is a disease. I believe that a lot of
It's
our
trauma.
I believe it's I'm going to wait. Source just giving me the words. I believe that it's an awakening of each of our young people's uh, of their gifts. I'm gorgeous. Of their gifts and talents and skills. through source and through awareness
Mm.
of Almighty God. And
Okay,
it's
the different types of mental illness, because some I feel are like, if they're like trauma as a child or whichever, you know, and not addressed in a certain way, and then it comes into life with like other types of mental illness. But there's different types. Like I
yeah,
know, like with, I feel like with schizophrenia or with you know, it's stuff like that. I deeply believe that that is definitely, like, I believe that is a gift as well. Like there's a gift inside of that. And then instead of people knowing how to like society know how to embrace it, they're more like, okay, no, we're putting you in a box and there's something wrong with you, now we're going to medicate you.
right.
And it's not to say that people with schizophrenia, some people do need medication, right? I'm not against medication, but I am against like, okay, oh my god, they have schizophrenia, you know, like that kind of thing. It's like, no, you got to like, I agree with you with it. There is a gift inside of that.
The gift, I think there's a gift in the fact that source just gave us energy. We as human beings, whether we call us one of our many costumes that we wear as a soul, we wear mom.
Mm,
That's a costume, right? We wear, okay, your sons are wearing the costume of son for right now.
yeah.
Your daughter, costume of daughter. And our soul said, okay, let's play. But we as human beings, we didn't play. We took ourselves so seriously that we wrote all these different, we did what I like to, if anybody has watched Aladdin with Robin Williams, I love the thing, Robin Williams. Robin Williams
Oh,
did the voice.
oh, he was the genie.
He was the genie.
The live
And,
version you're talking about, right? Or are
um,
you talking about the
the,
cartoon?
the, the cartoon, the very first
Oh, the
cartoon,
first one. Okay, yeah, yeah, I've watched that.
resonates with me was it was very, very, because it was a cartoon. You, for most adults, they were listening to the people's words, where the kids were looking to the action and the color and the whatnot. But the words were very powerful because the genie said, okay, I'm going to slow down. The genie said, you have 3 wishes. Source says you have infinite wishes. And then the genie says, but within those three wishes, here's the quick pro quo. You can't ask for love, and you can't ask for anybody to make me have somebody make you love them. You can't. There was so many quick pro quos to that 3 wishes. And as human beings, that's what we do. Source gives us an infinite amount
We put limits.
and then we put the limits, right? We put the we not on, we're not doing it on
Yeah,
purpose. We don't know on purpose.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're just following a set of just uh, egoic, distorted information that doesn't work for us anymore. Or maybe some people, they're comfortable that way. They may never, as what we consider, become conscious about the higher beingness. But Source says that's a choice too. All it
Sometimes
is.
people just don't get to have that exposure to know as well, right? That's why more and more conversations like what we have, or like within the Instagram community, and just keeping on talking about it, to give those people that would never have thought about it because they've never been exposed, the opportunity to be exposed and to be like, oh wait, let me dig deeper into my own consciousness.
Or they believe that they're digging deeper. And here it is again. I am not denying that psychoanalyst, or I'm not denying that psychologists and psychiatrists are bad or evil or demonic or any of that.
Yeah.
They know the fact that most psychologists and psychiatrists and even doctors, okay, taken out of the mix, the pharmaceutical companies and all that. These are people who had whether it was a prayer answered that they were going to be able to help heal people. They were going to be able to help people figure out what's going on in their mind. This was an answered prayer or an answered intention.
Yeah.
Source said yes. Source said yes. Yes, that's energy.
You were going to have that gift. Yeah.
Yes, that's your gift, right? That's what you think about. There's some kids, think about it. I'm amazed at children because you'll ask a child who's 3 years old or 4 years old, what do you want to be, based on what we consider their little vision of what they've seen or what they've been shown on TV or whatnot. And they'll go, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to heal the world. Oh, I want to be a writer. I want to tell a story, right? Oh, I remember when I was younger, I remember my uncle asking me, I don't know, I could have been 7 and probably younger. My uncle asked me, Sandy, what do you want to be? And I just told him, I want to be a marine biologist. He didn't even know I could say
the word.
Let alone know what it is, but it's like, okay, so we've got these doctors and we've got these psychologists, and they're coming from what they know about the physical body or what they believe they know about the physical mind. And they've kept us, what the egoic mind wants to do is they kept us safe until one day we could wake up and say, okay, now I understand my body can heal myself. I understand what the intention of my body is. I understand how my cells can reproduce. I understand that once I get strong enough to hold that belief that my body is going to keep me healthy, I might not need medicine anymore.
Yeah.
So, and oh wow, Source just said that's where Casey's heading. You're bridging the physical with the spiritual. You're bridging that. I mean, there have been people bridging it, but it's most of those people that have bridged it are hard to get to. They're the reason why I do my soul awakening, why I started it on Instagram, because I wanted to be available. I do want to, I know that I am going to be a spiritual and motivational speaker on a stage somewhere with millions.
I see it too. I see that. I see
right?
that for you.
But I want to be available to those. I don't want to be on a stage where the ticket is $3,000.
Yeah.
For to get there. I want to be available to everybody. I want to be available to those people who only can see through their physical eyes that, man, I have this budget that I have to attain. I don't know how I'm going to pay for a workshop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Because I know how I felt when I wanted to go to a workshop and it costs $800.
And then it's like, okay, do I pay my $800? Like, for me, that's like a quarter of my rent,
Yeah. Do I pay?
Or a third. Yeah.
Right. And if I'm already at one point, I'm already robbing Peter, and that was my, I heard that's with the grown-ups that I grew up with, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Oh, like what's that mean?
That means like not paying your gas bill 1 month to pay your department.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly.
Or only paying half of each bill so that you can make sure that you go and do $100 worth of grocery shopping, right? To make the ends meet.
Yeah.
Right. And then throw into the mix that, I really want to go and do these workshops. Right. And I remember my kids were teenagers by this time, or young adults, I'll just say. And I started out learning about the law of attraction from The Secret, which my son and his now wife brought me that DVD. It was gifted to me. Still, it's currency coming through because it was gifted to me, because they probably spent currency to get it for me. Maybe.
It's sorry for interrupting, but it's funny about the currency thing because that day, was it yesterday you said it? But I wrote it down. You spend currency and then the currency comes back because I've been making like these changes and it's just like everything it's happening. It's all happening. It's coming to me. And like I've been on this path for a couple years where instead of hating money, I love money. Even when I don't have it, I still say I love money. If I catch myself being like, I switch it up. I'm like, nope, I love money. I love money, you know?
Okay.
So it's interesting that we're here on that.
Ooh, I'm glad we're talking about this. I'm glad we kind of shifted to this because this makes more sense. It makes actually resonates more. You just said, even though I don't have money, right? How about you change that to even though I don't physically see money because you have.
Yes. I don't physically see money. I say I'm abundant, but like I'm still a work in progress with my wording. But yeah, like what you just said, like if I catch myself, I change it, right? I change the wording because I know the power of our words and I know it's working no matter what. Like when there's a time when I physically didn't have the cash in my hands to pay a bill, it always works out. So I stopped with that negative relationship with money and now have a love relationship with money. And I know it always comes back. And then when you said the currency part, it really resonated because it's like the way you said it, it's like it doesn't have to necessarily be cash currency. It's currency in anything, right? Like even like you doing this right now, like you're doing all your lives, like you're the currency that you're giving to everybody who watches and then the knowledge and everything like that. And I don't know why I just started to get emotional. Like I started watering up.
I was doing it too. I'm glad.
But it all comes back and then that's where I see you being on that stage, right? Like I see you like you're yes, wow. I don't know why I got emotional.
Yeah. But I just want to, it's not, and I don't want anybody to think that I don't want to pay my bills. I don't want to,
Yeah.
and I, I do. It's just, I want to be, or no,
I am.
I am that creative creator that is allowing myself to be of service everywhere I can be. Everywhere I'm vibrating. Even if no one comes through in a live, source will say, save it. Somebody's going to want it.
Mm-hmm.
Be available to see, hear, feel through these five senses that I have as a multi-sensory being. I don't have to wait till this body shifts and goes into another sensory being. I know that's going to happen because that's part of my soul's journey. But I just started like going, okay, how do I use everything that I'm learning or that is being shown to me, or that every time source shows me a gift, how do I use it in my physical world, right? How do I use it as a parent, right? I did okay as a parent, through a lot of what my mom gave me, and I just know that my mom was. I'm going to just say my mom was an angel in human form, not just the soul. I truly believe that she didn't know how many people she really touched with her wisdom and understanding that source was opening up to her. And so every time I just had those embodying questions, I was allowed to have them. And I was allowing source to be a shaker and a mover with me, even though, yeah, I was doing my ego thing too. Mm-hmm. In the guise of you're a Gemini, just everybody needs to get used to how you flow, right? It's not, it's not the service to all with what I consider the unconditional love, right? But for me, it's showing me the growth that I have. When I look at other people and other people say, "Oh, you touched me yesterday. You said this, this, and this," and I'll divert it. I'll say, "No, that was soul. So soul or source did it." And then source will say, well, wait, I thought we were body, mind, and soul. I thought you were me and
Well,
I.
I noticed that shift even from when I first met you, because anytime you would say it's soul, it's soul. You don't say it as often because maybe you are embodying it, that it is you too, right? Like when you do
Yeah,
give us our advice and your conversation, it's you as well as soul. And so you can be, we can say thank you to you
yeah, yeah.
and
And,
you receive
and
it.
keep it like, yeah, it's a work. And like you said, just like you said, you're a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. And it's not, to be a work in progress is not a bad thing,
No.
especially, ooh, source just kind of transition that, especially where our children are concerned. Where our children are concerned.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part when you're in it though. Like, and like having conversations with you helped me knowing, it's okay to be a work in progress, because I am open to understanding and having conversations and knowing that I am a work in progress, and I'm learning as we go, especially with Tegan, my oldest, because he's my first. So from the beginning, he was the first person to teach me. And like the one day we went into the principal's office, when I first met the principal or the vice principal, he said that to Tegan. He was like, your mom, it's you and your mom, it's your first times doing this. Like you're her first child. So she's learning with you. And when he said that, I was like, because I never thought of that, right? But for the principal to say that to Tegan, it was like, oh, I started crying, because it was like, you know, for someone to recognize I'm doing the best I can, right? And then like it's yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Where what I had, and it was actually, it was the first, probably the first and only conversation that I had with a group of adults as 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 young. I don't know how old I was, but I remember hearing them talk, and I remember it was, like my uncles and an aunt or somebody, and it was after church, and I think after church, uh, back then, was the how am I going to say this? For some people, they embraced the holier than thou for a lot longer than they should. That was the egoic mind. And I remember one of my uncles said that he always had his great sayings, and it was something about the Bible and something about children. You have to mind what your children say. And I remember my mother just kind of looking at him and saying, well, your children are going to be a product of you, so what do you want what are you going to say in front of them? And that kind of stumped everybody. And I remember saying out loud, I was in the room, but I wasn't in the conversation, but because my mother didn't separate
Yeah,
us from the
I
conversation.
remember you telling me. Yeah,
Yeah, she wasn't like
I was
going the
allowed
other.
to hear, but I was not allowed to talk. Like I heard everything, I just wasn't allowed to say things.
Yeah, so, and I just I just kind of laughed. I giggle like I knew something, right? And I remember my other uncle, who was more hip. He was more, kind of like, he would have conversations with you, and he would try to figure out where you stand and why you do things and everything. And he said, "Sandy, what you laughing at? No, Sandy, what you find funny?" And I my we called him Uncle Bubble, but his name was Uncle Bubba, and his official name was Arthur, and my mother called him Bubba, right? But we grew up calling him, until we figured out we were doing it wrong. And I just said to him, I said, "Uncle Bubba, you guys got your conversation wrong. We're um, and and I said to him, I said, we're parakeets of you, or something like that." And he stopped, and he
I don't
said,
even know what a parakeet is.
a parakeet, I think it's a parakeet is the bird that mimics you when you talk.
Oh, a parrot.
A parrot. But
Okay.
he knew. right? I guess he knew. And he says, "Oh, you say what we say?" And I just shook my head and I got up and I walked away, right? But we do. Our children mimic us because they think we know, they think we're perfect. They think that we are, as human beings, as parents, we don't want them to walk in our shoes. We want to suffer everything for them so that they have this perfect life. But when they're mimicking us, and when they're not learning or allowed to learn what they need to know for the outside world. And then we blame them, right?
See, I never ever would think that my kids thought I was perfect.
But they do. But they just do. Because we're constantly telling them, you need to do this, you should do this. Instead of, when I was your age and I did this, and I stepped out of place, or like we were talking about when we went out and the first time we ever got so drunk that we lost our shoes and blah, blah, blah. They need to know that. Because
yeah, and that's the big change that's starting to happen within me, that's being told to me a lot, is that when they see me as human, which I'm becoming more human around, especially since I moved to Kitchener, seeing me not always like that, just seeing us be ourselves too, and it's okay. But to transition from being mom to also showing your kids that you're human too, when you've always only been mom in front of your kids, is hard. I will say that, because for me, it is very hard to be just like human. But that is something, like when Tegan comes home, that's what I'm striving to be, is just be human with him, right? Especially because he's now built his own independence. He separated from us for this 2 months and everything like that. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for me to, especially because I know and I'm open to it. I'm not just like, no, I got to teach him. Now I'm like, okay, I did what I had to do. He's old enough to make his own decisions now, and I need to just be here and be human with him. And then, then he'll hopefully have that feeling of just wanting to open up to me and talk to me, because now we're being human with each other, not just me being mom and being perfect, because I never thought of that. I never thought of that perfect part. So if he thinks that I'm perfect, then he doesn't want to come to me with the problems of life, because mom's perfect.
right.
So the way,
Right. Yeah.
that just hit hard. I'm just going to shut my door. There's me trying to hide what I'm talking about now that I think about it, and I don't even need to. I just need to be me. Because I went to shut the door because I don't want, because I'm used to kids can't hear my conversation. And then it's like, wait, as I'm shutting, I'm like, no, that defeats what we're just talking about.
Right. But the whole thing is also the advent of all the social medias and everything. They're going to gravitate to other people that show their right. And teach them in a way that maybe might not be for the greater good. Why not just have, and we both talked about this, why not sit and have that active conversation and be that active listener? But I'm going to tell you, that was hard shit, to sit there and not be the one that says, okay, they tell you 2 words, and 2 words into it, no, but you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do this, right? And
we just got to be the listeners. And it's like, I got that training, so now I just got to implement it. Hi, Becky.
Yeah, it's you got to implement it. Sometimes I did it really. I did it. I got the best. I got the best thank you from my kids, that my kids said, Mom, you knew when to be our mom and when to be our best friend. And we knew when you switched gears. That was, I think, that I didn't know I was doing that my entire life with them. I wasn't perfect though. I let them know, I always would remind them, hey, me and your dad weren't perfect, and yeah, I was that that kid that was snogging your dad, and how do you think you three got here? You know, come on. We have hidden sex so much from our kids, and I just realized that
Me,
when I
big
deal
time.
with my grandkids, so much hidden stuff based on a set of rules that are no longer for the greater good. Everything that we hide from our kids, they find it, and they find it under a different guise of misinformation, where they should be getting it from their parents, regardless of whether it's the hidden information is coming from old religious dogma, or whether it's coming from political affiliations and what other people think that you should your children should be available to. What do you, as a parent? I mean, if you, even if you're not walking a spiritual walk, you're just in the world and following some guidelines. We as parents should, if we're questioning the guidelines for everybody else but ourselves, then when do we question it about our own children?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, you have to walk a spiritual path to be something great, and be a great parent, or be a great single dad, or a great single mom, or raising your grandkids because they lost their parents. It's, what do you want your children to know? And how much of the real world do you want them to live in without getting their ass kicked?
And that's where it's so tough, though. It's just like, back to, like, when I had the kids, it's like I never wanted them to see anything that I went through, right? Like, no, I wanted to just protect them from the world and protect them from this. And then one time, my friend Brenda, who I've told you about, she was just talking to me about her own stuff and her own experiences. And then I just like realized, even if, no matter how hard, it was actually because of their father, okay? Like, their father had hurt them again. And I was like, it doesn't matter how hard I try to protect my children, there's still going to be forces out there in this world that are going to hurt them, whether
Right.
I have protected them as much as I've protected them, especially like when their own father hurt them, like, because he had, at that point, he had taken off from where we were living in Montreal and went all the way to BC and didn't say goodbye to them, right? So that was my recognition in my life, to realize that no matter what I do, I can't protect them from the hurt for the rest of, like, that moment is when I didn't realize I was releasing it, but I realized, like, I can't protect them. I still gotta it's okay for me to live my life. And if I live, and I'm just at this point now, which is like 7 years later, where I'm like, if I want to date somebody, I'm going to date somebody, instead of like not dating anyone and not bringing anyone into their life, because I don't want them to get hurt and this and this and this, So, like, it's just that recognition that, as parents, yes, that is what we're here to do. We feel we're here to protect them, but at the same time, I think it might do more. I'm not going to say it does, but it might do more harm with that protective mindset than being open that there are things out in the world that could hurt you, but I'll be here to help you through it.
Right.
And that was just a message right now for me, because saying that out loud like that, it makes it make more sense. I'm blubbering now. I don't even know what's coming out.
Fahim, we're on a podcast right now. You're asking, what are we doing now? We're on this is solo. I'm about to say Soul Awakening it's Soul Awakening with Sandra, and my podcast is Soul Conversation with Sandra. This is the Saturday special edition. That's what we're doing now. Thank you for joining us, and it's called Coffee, Tea, and Us. So we're talking about family. We're talking about being single mothers. We are embracing our spiritual growth and everything. Thank you for following me. Hi, Epi. How are you? Welcome to the conversation. And this what you working? You know what? I don't know what to say. I just said podcast. So, could you reframe the question? But anyway, what, yeah, there were some things that I started to notice that I had to refine in me because I was growing up raising my kids. I always felt that I could be a best friend to my children, and that was only best friend meaning that I was able to listen to them easily and more effortlessly as children,
Me too. Like when they were little. It was when they became teenagers that I feel I've lost control, but I'm gaining my control back.
right?
Not control, because I don't want to control, but gaining my balance.
Your balance. And like I was saying, it's you're welcome, Bahim. It was for me. I think what you kind of feel like you lost it because you're basing everything that other people have told you should do or you should be, or not what you should do so your kids can be whatever version other people are seeing that children as a whole should be.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
Cut off the cloth. But children aren't that. They are not cut off the same cloth. They are my oldest son is not like my youngest son. My daughter is not like her brothers. They all.
It cut out.
Did you hear it
okay.
again?
You said my daughter's not like her brothers, and then it cut out.
Oh, it cut out. So all of them were, and I didn't know this then. They were being authentically them, right?
Yeah.
As best they could. And so when I got a hint of that, because I was having trouble with them transitioning from being, I think it was about maybe 13, right? And I figured I was having trouble with them I was having to transition. They were just being them. They were just being them the way I allowed them to be when they were children. Mm-hmm. That was back then. That was active listening. We had a lot in common. I loved cartoons. I was a big kid.
Me too.
I loved all the dance.
Get down and play with them. Go to the park and play and do all the fun things when they want to be around you.
Yeah, the miniature golf and the movies and the playing in the park and all of those things. And up until 13, that was great. We were great friends, and they knew the balance of me turning off being best friends and going, oh, I'm really actively listening. You need to do this because I just told you pick up your room. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why I told you this. Or, if you're not going to eat all your food, you don't have to eat all your food, but definitely you need to pick up your plate and go empty it in the trash. Mm-hmm. Or it's your day to do dishes. Or and by then we had a dishwasher. Okay, your day to rinse off the dishes and put it in the dishwasher, or your day to vacuum, and that kind of thing. Right?
It's interesting that you're saying that because that's like our biggest struggle right now. Me and my 13-year-old Romeo is like just helping, but then because he's 13 now, right, and almost 14, so he's in that stage, I guess, and it's just hitting like right now. Where let's say when they were 8, 9, and 10, 11. No problem doing the chores. No problem helping out. No problem knowing that you help because we're all a team and we're all part of each other. But then all of a sudden now it's like, no, you got to do everything and give me everything. That's how I feel anyway. Yeah. He doesn't say that, but that's how I feel. Not only do I have to do everything, but he also asks for more and more and more, right?
Look at it this way. I think it's a good thing that they're still in the asking stage, and instead of them going out and figuring out how to get it on their own at the cost of someone else. So that's what I figured. I figured if they're going to if they're asking me, then I have to be creative about the answers that I'm going to give them, right? So
I think that maybe that there's, I don't know,
Go ahead.
like that person keeps saying
Yeah,
things.
I know it's I he'll just have to keep doing it because I'm not gonna answer anymore. I
Okay.
know I told you it's a podcast and
Yeah.
it's going to go out across my social media platforms. Therefore, I'm going to have to deny that you unlock.
Becky. Yeah. So Becky said, "Oh, mine are big askers. I've never thought about it like that." Yeah, it's like Sandra has the best stuff to come out.
only, only, and really only by trial and error.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say, Becky, that some of the shit didn't hurt when I would, bump up against my kids and what they thought they should be able to do, what they thought they were entitled for, and because they were, um, Bahim, I'm gonna have to figure out how to dismiss you from
Do
the feed.
I think I can do it? Just a sec. Oh no, you have to because you're the person.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you could
How
just
do I?
block it. Just click on his name and then block him. Sorry, buddy. I think that you're in a wrong conversation here.
Um, Hold on a second. It's not letting me do
I
it.
think when you look at the people who are in it and then you click the three dots, I think that's where you can do it. Or we'll just ignore it. We can ignore it. It's fine. We'll just ignore it.
Yeah. So Becky says that's why I tune in when I see you both on.
No.
I mean, it is truly life is trial and error. That's why we're in duality. It's trial and error. I think that's the best gift that the divine creator gave us, was the fact that we're living in this matrix, if you want to say, with the ability to have choices, especially when we have this costume on as mom. It's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to say, I remember when my youngest there was times where I would say no to him and he would adhere to the no. And then there would be other times where I didn't know he was sneaking out until the what you put out comes back. And he went out with a group of friends. And matter of fact, as an adult, he reminds me of this, that he went out with a group of friends and they had another agenda in mind, not the agenda that he thought was going to be. He thought they were going to go sit and write lyrics.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning this one.
Right? And instead, they decided, the people that they were with decided to go steal something or try to steal something, and they got caught. And he got caught with them. And I had to pick him up. And he was embarrassed, and he was, and he finally understood. He says, "Oh, is that why you tell me no?" I said, "Yeah, that once you're in my household, safe in my household at night, where you're not, he made a decision. The universe brought his decision back around to him, whether he's a child or not, whether he's conscious of it or not. And he realized, he goes, "Oh, this is why you take care of me, Mom." Not to say that then he would say, if he's in for the night and it's say 9 o'clock at night or after, he started telling his friends, "Hey, I can't hang out with you. I got in trouble because of you, because I made a decision to go against my mom." And I mean, that made me feel good.
And that was probably like the biggest blessing in disguise for him to learn it that soon, right? So that later on he didn't get into worse trouble.
Right. No, I'm not going to say he didn't get into worse trouble. I mean,
okay. For that moment then.
Yeah, right. But least for all my kids, once they turn, I believe it's somewhere about 10, and I don't know if this has changed, but this is what I learned when I was taking child psychology in college, when I thought I wanted to be a child psychologist. Okay, that children become. It's believed that children become cognitive about choices, about saying no, I want more information, at about 10. Okay, so by 10, when your children are coming up against you and challenging you, it's because their whole cognitive brain has said, no, you're telling me it is so because you say it's so, but
I want more.
I want more.
See, I think that should be taught to moms and dads, like right from the beginning. Like, okay, when they hit 10, that's when they're going to start challenging you. It's not that they're challenging you because they just don't want to listen. It's challenging you because their cognitive brain has changed, you know? And knowing that lesson would make it so much easier.
Okay, right? It would make it so much easier. It's like, but I think because I still had a lot of my my inner child was still active, that I had a good connection with them. Mm-hmm. So I do feel that even though I hit bumps, there was an okay transition, but it was only because I remembered that from my child psychology, that, okay, he's now asking me questions because he wants a conversation. Most of us as parents want to believe that between 13 and the end of their teens, they don't want to have shit to do with us. But the thing is, they're not changing. We need to change. They're expanding, and we have just
we need to change as who we are as parents when they hit that age, because they're okay. It's just like, it's just so deep. Like, it's so, like, it's resonating hugely right now. And it's like messages coming from me with my teens. It's like, we need to change. The hard part, though, is when you have kids with all these different ages, right? Like, that's where I find it challenging. It's like, how do I be there? Like I'm getting better because I'm growing. It doesn't actually start from the terrible twos, Ella. We know it goes much deeper.
Oh, you're terrible.
The terrible twos wasn't a thing for me with my daughter. She was terrific. I called it the terrific twos. And then she hit 3, and then like, okay, I've got a little teenager, a three-nager, and then she's still in the three-nager age.
Yeah. The thing is, our perceptions as human beings, based on what we believe our children are from the time they're in the womb, is the perceptions need to change. That our children are okay. I'm going to just say it like sources telling me. We believe our children are our chore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that. I see that more now, like on my hard days. Yes. Than I ever did when they were little. Like, yeah. Because they were little, I never felt that. I never felt like they were a chore. I felt gratitude and grateful and just to be the best mom. Now, I 100% feel like that on hard days. I'm just like, just another, all these things. Yeah.
But the thing is, it's just as much a blessing when your children were small. The blessing is there. It's the expansion that is happening
within ourselves, and that's back to being us as the parent having to expand as they get older and expand our parenting. And I feel like I need to say this because maybe it's going to benefit somebody else. I think for me, the childhood part, I was so good when they were that little because I was, like you said, in my inner child with them and just doing everything that I didn't have as a child. And just, I was always like, I always was that kid person. Like, you see a baby, I'm talking to that baby. I've always been amazing with little kids. Kids always love me. But then maybe the teenage part, when it got hard, was because it was so hard for me as a teenager. Like, I had a very, very traumatic teenage thing with my parents. So maybe that's why now that you're saying the expansion, I need to expand because they're not my little babies, and you know, that little kid way I was. And then as a teenager, it was so hard for me, so that I didn't have that way to expand. But now I'm understanding I need to expand more to where they're at, not, yeah, okay. I'm just talking out loud, and but this might help someone who watches it. So
The one thing that I learned from my mom is how she got to know all her kids. Not per se exactly where they meeting them where they're at, like Catalina says, but she got to know in, uh, little things about each of their kids. She met them. Yes, actually it is. She met them where they each were at. Not all were the same. My older brother had, she listened to what he liked and where he thought he was going to go. And my older brother always wanted to play professional ball, baseball, right? So she homed in and she talked to him about that. She encouraged him about that. My sister wanted to, she had her thing. Me, when I was growing up, there was, Malcolm X and, all these things. So she listened to each of things, not because she may have liked everything, but she found out where we clicked.
hi, Surya.
Yeah. How are you?
She's been gone for so long, so I had to interrupt.
Yeah. So so I think once you're when you have them in all different ages, for what I did is I took what I watched my mom do, not what she told me to do or how she told me to do it, but I watched her, and then I expanded that, and I would take my kids would have my older son Mickey Day, and my younger son Marcus Day, and my daughter Aaron and Mommy Day, and because that gave them the chance to be just them. Good conversations, blessings. Thank you for being here. So that they could be themselves instead of the group, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember things. It's like, as the group, when we went out, it was okay. Everybody, when I was, let's put it, when I was robbing Peter to pay Paul, but I still wanted them to have a great time,
yeah,
right?
Me too, all the time.
I would, go out, and we would all have breakfast or whatnot, and I would look for, something that I could split up. And it was really hard because somebody didn't like eggs, and somebody didn't want the waffle, or and then I figured out. I said, okay, the person who likes eggs, I'll put that on their plate, and the person who liked the waffle, I'll put the waffle on their plate, and then I'll do this. I started figuring out, okay, how does this work?
Yeah. Do you mean like going to a restaurant and buying a big plate and then they can all share it? Yeah, like that's so me. Like we figure out the best way we can still do fun things, and then like everyone is happy. So many times I've done that.
Because when I did it and I would say, okay, what do you want? Then they would just, and it would just like, and in my head, I'm adding up all of what they want. And it was like, no, Sandra, find out what they like. Go look and find the breakfast platter. Yeah. And then, everybody gets a little, and me, it was never about me, because I could go home and make me something. Yeah. It was about them eating and enjoying. And I would get like I would get 3 glasses of water. I literally 3 glasses of water, and orange juice was always really very expensive.
Yeah. I'm the same. It's still expensive.
Yeah. And I would get I would order 2 medium-sized orange juices. I'd have the small glasses, and I would pour the juice into their glasses, right? And just to make it work. But figuring out who liked what was it, and it worked. Yeah. Instead of, I was like, always like, I would, when I ask them what they want, after I've asked them what they want, I cannot tell them that they could not have it. So it literally robbing Peter to pay Paul. If I spent 50, or maybe it wasn't that much. If I spent, back then it would have probably been $25.
Yeah.
If I spent $25 on breakfast, that meant, oh, which bill am I not going to pay today? Because I just, had this great day with my kids, right? So I learned not to ask them what they wanted. I learned to find out what they liked.
And then split it up. Yeah. So I want to say something about like how you were saying, like, you had, when you think about things, you looked back at how your mom did it. The thing is, there's sometimes, like with me, I never look back at how my mom did it. Mine was always like, I don't. And again, like, I have to say this because I'm not, like, in case my family watches it, it's not that I'm bad mouthing my mom, okay? It's that there are things that I experienced differently from my mom than what my youngest sister, like between the 13 years, because I'm the oldest and my youngest sister's 13 years younger than me. And then we have 5 in the middle, right? So there's 7 of us. So we all experienced it differently. But me as the oldest, the stuff I witnessed, I never wanted my kids to experience that, right? So a lot of my life was always like, I don't want to do it like my family did it. I never specifically said, I don't want to do it like my mom did it. There's a lot of things I do that my mom did, right? That just come naturally. But like how you have that ability to be able to be like, okay, so when you were doing it, you always look back at how your mom did it and you implemented it into your way of parenting. It's like, I wonder though, like what kind of like advice or knowledge we could say for someone who, like me, who didn't have that. Like I wasn't able to, right? So I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just wanted to say that.
I think if you allow yourself to look back at what you didn't like about that, then you step into your expansion of change. Everything under the universe changes. That's the only constant in all of the universe is change.
Change, yeah.
Taught as human beings not to embody change. We're taught to stay the same, especially when you're with religion. Always the same. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Yes, God will always be energy. Yes, God will always be light. Yes, God will always be love. Yes, God will always be these things. But God is always changing because God is moving through, in, and as us, being us, right? So when you allow yourself to look back, not in judgment, and see the things that were moving in a uncomfortable direction while you were growing up, you get to change that uncomfortable direction within yourself, and also allow, as you're expanding, you're allowing your children to have a whole different experience.
So I guess I just came to me. I guess I think the reason I said that is just anyone who is listening. There are people that don't have, like me, that don't have that guidance like Sandra did, to be able to like have that good memory of her mom, to be like, okay, this is how I'm doing it. So even though you don't have that, we still will succeed.
Yeah.
And we're still a work in progress. We still, I think what I'm called to say right now is figuring out how to look deep within ourselves and hear source, and to hear what we're given, and to learn that, because now, like, this kind of conversation I never heard, when I became a mom 15 years ago. No one ever talked about the stuff that I talk about now, or we talk about, right? Like, doesn't mean it wasn't there, but it was not in my life. I knew that inside me there was more. I just didn't have answers like I have now. So like, for us to have this conversation, someone to pop in to hear it, and to be a person like I was that didn't have that, I think I'm called to say right now, figure out how to look inside you and hear source, and to hear the knowledge that is given to you to make these changes for your highest purpose, or your highest self, and for your children, right? To make that growth and change.
Yeah.
I don't know, I needed to say that.
Because for me, I just feel that I'm not gonna say my my childhood, as I viewed it from my perception, I viewed I had a I had a great childhood. Yeah, I went through some ups and downs. Yeah, there were certain stories that kind of filtered down that gave me fears about certain things, and and I was from I was the middle child of five children, right? So all of my siblings are seeing our growing up in different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing it in a different in a different lens, through a different lens.
Grand Rising.
Hi, how are you? Um, Through a different lens. So when like for example, when my baby sister says, "Oh yeah, she remembers us past and she remembers it a certain way." Pardon?
You froze. She remembers it in a certain way.
Am I back now?
Yeah.
Okay. She remembers it in a certain way where I see it in a different lens. So she will say it, I remember I was the black sheep and you guys always said this and whatnot. And then I turn around and I said, well, when I think once I had told her, I've got to laugh about this. Once I had told her she was adopted. And I'm the bigger sister, and she was annoying me, and I was like, get away from me. Mom adopted you. Or, she would do something that really annoyed me, or, mess up or tear a paper or something, and I would go, I'm going to tell you, Mom found you in a trash can. We need to take you back there. But yes, and kids do say some meanful, spiteful stuff, regardless of if it's family or if they're little kids playing on a park. They say exactly what they think at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make it wrong or right. If somebody has a perception to say, oh, that's wrong or right, then there comes the judgment on it. And the judgment is put on it when we start seeing ourselves through that lens that we're judging ourselves. When we get old enough to go, well, here's why I have trauma, is because you as a kid, Sandy, told me I was adopted. It wasn't that it was true or false. It's I held on to that.
Carried that, yeah. So it's like releasing those. It's all about perception, right? It really is, because you didn't intend to hold that on. And same, like, one day I hope me and my little sister can have a conversation about what is going on in her mind, where it is kept us apart from each other. Because for me, she was always, to me, I thought of her like a daughter. Like I did, like I always loved her. I always, like, she never saw, like, there was never, she was perfect in my mind, right? And then, but for her perception of me could totally be different. I moved out when I was 16. She could have felt, I don't know these things because we've never had an adult conversation, right? It just turned to, okay, we don't talk to each other now because our family's going through whatever it's going through. It doesn't need to go into that right now, but, like, that distance between us, like, obviously in her mind, she sees it a different way than how I see it, because I don't know what the problem is. I don't know.
Right.
I just know that, something that stopped us from talking was our middle sister, like me having protection over my middle sister, because no one was there for her. Everyone went against her. So I needed to be that, like we've talked about this before, just the protection of the underdog, right? Like, I've always been that. I've always, no matter if that person, it's my best interest or not, I'm still there for that person because that person needed me. My sister needed me, right? So I needed to be there for her when no one else was there. But back to how you were saying about being raised, like, the way that I was raised by my mom was way different than the way that my little sister was raised by my mom. And same with, Tegan. The way Tegan was raised by me is going to be way different than the way Serenity is my little sister's name. The way that Tierra Justice is raised by me, because I'm have more experience. I'm older. There's just more and difference in my life. He was my first trial and error for everything, like, everything about the way it was with Tegan is I was learning. Everything was super scary for me. Like the first time, like Tegan had seizures, and when that happened, like I didn't know what to do. Like I was uncontrollable. I didn't know if my kid was gonna like die from seizures. Like it was so scary. But then with TJ, it's like, oh, you fell, okay, get back up, you know, like little things that like that I would have like bawled my eyes out over with Tegan. With TJ, it's like, nah, you're fine, you know. It's just, it's so different because with your first kid, you're learning everything. And that's why I do give my mom grace, because my mom was so young, and with me she was learning and learning. But the problem with me and my mom now is I don't understand how, and I'm learning to release it, and I have released it, but new things have come up, and it's like I don't know how to as adults how it's still the same, you know. Like I was so forgiving of her for everything, but now as adults, how are you to me with the knowledge that I know, and I know she's on her, she's been on, she gave me my first tarot deck, right? Like, so she's been on a journey, so I just don't get it. So that's what makes it hard to understand everything, like, because we're adults now, but yet I'm being treated like I am the black sheep of the family, you
Yeah.
know? So,
I think it's
hi,
what I'm.
Corey.
Hi, Corey. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Catalina says we view our childhood through our individual lenses, for sure. Yeah, we have a view of our childhood that's a little bit more pure when we're children. But the problem is when we're viewing our child, ourself through the child, our lenses, and we're viewing something that's happening to us that's not for our greater good. We know it. We know it through our feelings, through our emotions about our feelings. But no one is telling us that it's not for our greatest good, or that this isn't what love is, you know, or this isn't what love should feel like, or whatnot. And then we grow up with these perceptions, and we view them through our adult lens. And everybody will go through this. That we tend to go back and we go, oh, my mother hated me. But what we do is we view it through that lens, and we make a judgment about it, and then we go, but we stop it there. My mother, that's where we stop it. My mother must have hated me. And then we don't go down that rabbit hole and say, well, if I'm going through this with my children, and they're saying this about me, and they don't know what I've been through, then I must not really know what my mother went through. It's not just the fact that she had me so young, it's the fact that she either saw something or witnessed something that said to her it's okay to be this way, and be this type of adult. Not that I know people who kind of go, I'm trying to make sense of why people hurt me. Trying to make sense why they don't understand that that's wrong.
But that's where I'm at with my mom, for sure. It's like I don't understand how she doesn't see that it's hurtful. But like as a kid, I always excused her behavior because I did know what she went through. So I was like a little kid with empathy inside me. Like I was a big spirit without realizing, where I always had that smile for everyone. And when I look at those little kid videos in the summer, when I went through my inner child, like big time healing before I met you all, watching those videos, I was like, even like I was sitting there and my little brother was starting, like, because like there was 7 of us, right? It was a Christmas video, and my little brother was my middle brother. He was starting to get upset, and then he's about to start screaming, and then I got everybody singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and calmed the situation down with a big old smile. And you could see on my face that like I, I felt like when I watched it, I could remember. And then I was like, I was still that light for people, like without even knowing. And then like when I think about my mom and everything, I just always, until recently, forgave and forgave and forgave, and always had this like, oh, she does this because of what she went through. Oh, she does this. Oh, maybe because she thinks this of me because it reminds her of this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. I had all these like answers and reasons just to be compassionate and give her empathy and to like just get, because she's my mom, right? But now I'm at a point where like a lot happened and it's just like I just don't understand how and I have gone through that. Part of my inner child healing was the hate. Oh, she just must hate me, right? And then now I'm at like I know she doesn't hate me, but I feel that she doesn't have enough inside her, enough want, enough will, enough care to be like pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, daughter, sorry we haven't talked in 3 years. Let's make this better." You know?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you take away the judgment and go into discernment, then maybe she doesn't have that. And then Source says, and it's okay. Because
that's where I'm at. It's okay.
It's okay. Because at some point, and I think that's what happens with a lot of people who stay in that judgment mode and that wanting to have an answer instead of it's okay. Because guess what? I'm beginning, if you're just starting, I'm beginning to see myself as my soul sees me, not as my mother or my father or my sister or my brother see me, and that's okay.
And that here, I just got this big hug like surrounding me, because that is what has gotten me through like this last little bit, is just like that change inside me to know that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what my opinion says about how they see me, like my siblings or my mom. But before, it used to hurt me so bad because I loved them so much. And my life was about my siblings until I had my own kids.
Right.
And it's not that it cut off when I had my own kids. It's that I couldn't take care of my siblings anymore because I had my own kids to take care of, right? So I couldn't like, just be there. And so you saying that just like reinforces it. Like it's about how Source, right? It's not about anyone else.
Kathy just says I'm okay. See, this is another thing. Oh, Source is good. We're having a good conversation. Okay. For me, and this is for me and for you, and it's just an understanding. For me, there was a projection. There was a taking away of projecting, making sure that my sibling, start it this way. Most, and this is what most, not all, middle children have, is they're unseen. For me, I had an older sister and an older brother and an older sister in just this format. Older brother, 6 years apart from me. Older sister, 5 years apart from me. And my older brother and sister were what you would call Irish twins. Yeah. They were 11 apart, right? And then, so I went from being the in child, right? Because there were 3, right? To being a middle child because my mom had my younger brother and younger sister, right? So I went from being taken care of and being, by my older sister and brother and hanging out with them and kind of whatnot. And I didn't, when I was hanging out with them, I didn't notice that sometimes I was getting hand-me-downs, right? It wasn't hand-me-downs, it was my sister and brother took care of things great. So my mom just was this repurposed mom. I didn't know that until Source is actually showing it to me now. But as an in child, it was, why don't I get anything new? But the thing is, I was getting things new. I was getting things, it was new to me. Repurpose was new to me.
Yeah.
Do you get it now?
Oh, I do. I get it. Like even just with TJ shopping at that store, the $2 store, because of my childhood. Okay, wait, you finish your thought first and then I'll tell you that.
Okay. And then when my younger brother came along, I became this, my older brother and sister were off on their adventures. They were already they already became in that 10-year-old, where consciously aware that they could ask questions, that they could push their limits, they could push their boundaries, they could, start making decisions for themselves. They had their own set of friends, blah, blah, blah. So here I became a middle child, but I became a child that took care of my brother, a child that took care of when my baby sister came. I became
The
the
oldest in a sense, but you were the middle. Yeah.
middle. But then I actually started to see or have a perception as a middle child that, okay, I got hand-me-downs. Yes, okay, I kind of sort of understand this. Kind of new to me, but I'm still getting hand-me-downs, right? But baby sister and baby brother were getting brand new shit.
Because nothing fit and you didn't have the old stuff for them. Yeah.
Right. Because I was not only the middle child, but I was a girl. So I couldn't hand anything down to my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time my baby sister came, it was like she would have to wait quite a while for her to have some of my stuff, because I was an individual in a different size and a different body make and whatnot. But as a kid, when your perception of that, the perception is I'm alone. I
Mm-hmm.
went from being taken care of by older brother, older sister, and included, to taking care of and being needed, to now watching, my little brother and sister, who deserved as baby brother and baby sister to be acknowledged as well, to feeling alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, now I know it's my egoic mind that set that whole
Put that up. That's right. Yeah.
But children are going through that all the time, and we as parents, we don't see it because
we don't look at that.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't go we don't want to go back, and we don't want to sit down and sit with it, because the shit hurts. For me, the that kind of stuff hurt, being felt like I wasn't, at least for my siblings, because my siblings meant a lot. It meant a lot to me. It was kind of like this was my clan.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That kind of thing. It was running to my sister and brother older, trying to get them, and then taking my sister and brother and going, okay, I got to shield them from everything.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. And then, them getting to that age where they started to say, okay, I can ask questions. I can do this. Sandy doesn't have to do this for me, right? And then I projected it onto my kids. But I think the good thing that happened out of that is, even though I didn't go back and feel the pain, I looked at my daughter and that label. She was the middle child. There was that label, and I'm going, oh, she's not going to have what I have. I'm not going to allow her to feel what I felt by being a middle child. And then, and on same point, we got along really well. Mm-hmm. She fit my mold, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like what you're saying, the sister that I told you that I was there to protect, she was the middle sister. So there was me, my sister was 15 months younger than me. My brother was 2 years younger than her. And then Sabrina was 2 years younger than him. So we were all like super close. And then there was a 4-year break. And then the next 3 siblings came. So like when I left, and then the other 3 left, my sister Sabrina became me, like the oldest, the one who had to take care of, the one who had to babysit, the one who had to take care of my mom, all these like things, like whether family wants, when they watch this or if they ever watch it, want to acknowledge it, that really is the case. Like that's what happened, whether people want to see it that way or not, it's the truth.
Yeah. Or it's the truth as
how she saw it, how she felt it, or how an outsider, when they hear her version of it, could see it. Like, right. Not just me, because I didn't know none of this. I didn't know any of this until my sister started counseling, until my family divided. I didn't know what my sister Sabrina went through, because it was a secret from me, because I was the oldest sister. Everyone didn't want me to really know what was going on, because I was the sister that would speak up to my mom. I would be like, Mom, like, what's going on? Right. Like, why is this person here? you know, but because I moved away, I was living in Montreal and they were living in Alberta, which is like living in California and living in New York,
Oh,
like the difference in
right.
area, like what's called
Huh,
distance. So it was like once or twice a year I got to see them, and then back then we didn't have cell phones and stuff like that, so it wasn't like they could call me and tell me really what's going on. But anyway, that's a whole
yeah,
other thing.
yeah. You know, so for me, then I just kind of projected that onto my children
Mm.
in various forms, you know, and then self-corrected every every so often. And I was able to self-correct because I watched my mother do a lot of things.
Mm.
Not to say my mother did everything right all the time, you know, as I started to course correct, I found things that I wanted to change. I found things that I wanted to expand it to. I found things that I wanted to say yes to. Me personally, um, you know, I always there was moments where I would jump outside the box in a second. I know my family, a lot of my family doesn't look at me as taking taking chances or whatnot. Sometimes my chances are calculated
Me too.
because I had when I was raising my kids, it was okay. The calculation is how is it going to affect me, not just my greater good, but the greater good of my children, and how is it going to shape them.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I do have people who say, oh, you know, like for me, I love California. I do. I'm not a, you know, I finally just realized that I'm not afraid of flying. I'm just going to tell you, I don't like to fly. I just really started, I dealt with that internally, right? And
Wait, have you never
no,
flown?
I've flown.
Oh, okay.
I've been to New York. I've been to Lake Tahoe. I flew to Las Vegas. I flew to where else did I fly to? I flew to Sacramento, and I I I did it, but I didn't like it. And it doesn't have to be because I have a fear. It just has to be that I tried something that wasn't comfortable to me, right? And I just came to that right now. That I've been dealing with. I'm like 60, right? Well, older than that, okay? But that's the only time I'm going to use that word. But I just came to trying to go. You know, it's yes, I will fly if I have to. I know that
But
if
if you
I'm going
don't
to,
have to, you like where you're at, and I don't blame you. You're in sunny California.
yeah, I'm in sunny California. But what has come up now is of late, and I know this is source keeps saying, what about Hawaii? Right? I told you that. And it's like, yeah, it's a possibility. I asked my daughter, I said, would you ever live in Hawaii? And she said, right off the cuff, she said,
You
yes.
know, that's where Brenda, my friend that I told you about from Montreal. So her daughter got a place in. Well, they got it together, but her daughter is a nurse in Hawaii, and that's where she goes in the winter. So she's still in Montreal in the summer, but she goes to Hawaii in the winter. It's another synchronicity.
Yeah. You know,
I
so
want you guys to meet.
these are possibilities that it's okay for me not to like
Mm-hmm.
something, right? It's how do you know what you really like if you don't like something, right? The case in point, not only am my body allergic to coconut, but it's not a big deal to me that my body doesn't like coconut. I don't like the taste of it anyway. And I had to actually taste coconut
To
and go,
find out that
I
your
yeah,
body didn't like it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't like it. But also my body had to have a reaction to it to let me know, well, it's not going to go with the flow of this vessel that I have. So talk about synchronicity. Think about all the things that you like that your body can't handle, but you like them, and you feel like you're losing out on something, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, oh, I'm not losing out on anything. I live in California that does have, and to everybody that talks about California seasons, we do have all seasons. They just are not extreme.
Yeah.
Okay for me, right? So we do, Californians, we do have a winter, and we do have a lot of rain, and we do have mudslides. We have it all. We just, in certain areas of California, it snows like nobody's business. So there's a little something something for everybody. But what I realized is I allowed people to give me their perception of me and how I perceived what was a dislike as a disadvantage
And yeah.
that I'm missing out, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why I brought it up is we do this to our children on a daily. You've got to like what I like. You got to do what I do. You know, it's been in the family. All the men have been accountants.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be
Yeah.
right. And it doesn't matter what they don't like or they don't prefer. We tend to project us onto them.
Sometimes though, okay, this is because I'm going through this right now. Sometimes though, I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, or if like, sometimes I think though, like, okay, Romeo doesn't like doing homework. Sometimes you gotta do things you don't like. Like he doesn't like doing homework, but it's like you have to do your homework in order to pass your grades, So those kinds of things I'm experiencing right now. Like he doesn't want to do the dishes, but that is your responsibility in order to have the phone that I'm paying for you for each month, even though like it's like, because the agreement was when I got him that phone, because it wasn't like a present, it wasn't Christmas, it wasn't his birthday, it was, I need your help. I need you to help me with things, and I will give you this. So the rule was 3 days a week he does the dishes, and that, or 3 days a week you do the dishes, and then you get this $150 a month phone, right? Like that is the agreement. So sometimes I don't know how, like, to meet in the middle with that, right? It's like the teacher even said he had a meeting, he didn't do any of his work. Oh well, and then he admitted that it's because he has a hard time doing stuff he doesn't like. But then it's like, how do you, because sometimes you have to do things you don't like for this, when you're at that age. Like I know when you're 20, if you decide you don't like doing homework, you don't have to go to university. But when you're a kid, you gotta don't you? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying there?
I had to cough and I mute it. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I'm telling you, you and I have went through the same thing. But and you will get through it. You will.
And I know this because I have people like you. And it makes it so much easier.
What I did with my son might not work for where you are. I just had to have this conversation. Actually, it was a conversation. My kids, my older son and my older daughter were gifted. They tested gifted. They got to go to, and I think it's a blessing. They got to go to gifted schools, and they utilized their gifts and talents and skills. And my youngest son, because his sister and brother were gifted, he got to go to it was called a magnet school, and he went to a magnet school as well. But the thing is, what I didn't do at that particular time was assess, did he need to be there for his greater good? Did he need to follow in his sister and brother's footsteps? That part, I was so excited that they got to go to a gifted class, and they got to go and experience and have what I considered, or no, what people were telling me was a better education for my kids. Not to say it wasn't, because they excelled. But was it what my younger son needed? And then he was struggling, and he would miss more high school. You know, his first year in high school, second year in high school, he started missing a lot. And he said to me, he says, "Mom, can I tell you something?" And I said, "Yeah, you could tell me anything." He says, "I don't like going to my high school, and I don't like kids my age." And he said to me, based off his perception, they get me into trouble. Right now, I think I'm a follower, and I'm following the wrong people.
That's Tegan.
Okay, so but he said this out loud. He came to that conclusion. I'm just listening to him, and I'm trying, and he could tell that I'm trying to figure out what he's going through, because I would ask questions. I would ask him, "Why did you skip?" And here's the thing: he skipped, and he would just hang out with people, and they would sit and write at a park. It wasn't like they were going and doing something wrong. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say that he might not have been smoking weed or something. I don't know. That never came. He would always say, I'm not smoking, but he would always say the people that I was with was smoking. Okay. And I as a great.
Well, I was that kid. I hung out with kids that smoked all the time, and I didn't. So maybe he didn't too.
He did too. But he was also into writing lyrics and music and stuff. And his sister and brother were going to magnet school because they were smart. They did their academics, and they were also dancers. Okay, so he was finding his place, and he was talking to me. The thing that I have to think about is that he was open for a conversation, and I was open for I was actually cognitively active listening to him. And he says, "Mom, what do you think if I went to a professional school?" Which is a school that isn't.
Sorry, hi Lisa, thank you. She said,
Yeah.
I love that color lipstick.
um, and I said, but the professional school is for adults who needed to get their GED. And he says, "What do you think if I enrolled in one of those instead of high school, instead of finishing high school?" Because he just point blank told me, he says, "I don't like high school. I don't like the kids, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "You know what? Let's try it. It's a possibility." So we went to the school that was nearest where I lived, and I talked to the counselors there. And the counselor said, "As long as we have your approval, and whatnot, then he can do it." Do you know that he excelled? That he had conversations with adult. He could hold a conversation with an adult, and not, and the adults in his class were saying, "Oh," and I'm not going to say my because I still had my married name no, actually I didn't. So they would say, "Miss Marshall, he's doing great, and he has great conversations. We don't understand why he's having difficulties in high school." But the things was, his conversations were like a little bit above
the kids.
Yeah. He wasn't. They weren't keeping his attention.
So saying that to me, it's like with Tegan now starting the online school, maybe that is going to be the solution when he comes home. Like, it'll be a conversation, right? So maybe that is where he's at too, without telling me it, right? Because the following and doing things like that, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
And
but it's just so hard because, like, this is, again, I think the right word. Hi, lovelies. Hi, Mel. I think the word for it is like, oh, I could just lost my thought.
You think? I think that with
dogma. Yeah. I think the word is dogma, which is like, you've taught me that, like, where we have that idea that, okay, so for me, because I work so hard because I was the first person to go to university in my family, okay? Like, even of my cousins and everything. I wasn't the first to graduate, but I was the first one to go. Right. But so it was just always like so important for me that my kids get a good education, that I'm active in their education, because like in my house, it didn't matter. Like you go to school or you don't go to school. Like, so it was all me that made sure, like when I was 16, I moved out, I was living on my own, but I still graduated high school when I was supposed to, because it was so important to me. Right. So I think that the thing about it is switching that dogma, because, you know, you get in your head that you can't be successful without a university degree, or you can't, you know, that you don't want your kids to not have it, you know, like that kind of thing. So I think that's where I'm at, where it's like it's not as important as I think. Because my son also writes lyrics, he also does music, he also is very musically talented, he plays piano, plays guitar. Like he's Tegan. Romeo isn't into it as much anymore, but he still has that talent. But like Tegan, like has made songs and stuff like that. So maybe that's where that
Now, hold on a minute. I just got mixed up. Oldest is, what's the
Tegan.
oldest? Tegan.
Tegan is oldest, Romeo's
Oh,
middle.
okay. There we
Romeo's
go.
my 13-year-old, showing me these little things that are just starting now that Tegan's gone. Now I guess maybe because I'm able to like focus on him more or something like that, I'm seeing, or maybe just he is hitting that, you know, 13 and a half age where he's like, no, I don't want to do homework. But Tegan is the one that is the oldest, is away. So Tegan is what I'm thinking about, like how you're saying that is, it's just so hard, because with that dogma, oh, if your kid doesn't go to university, or if they go get a GED, they're not as educated. But it's like, that's not true. It's not true at all. And it's about the image instead of about the kid. So for me, realizing it's about what's best for the kid. You've said that to me, everyone has said that to me. Like when I do talk about what's going on, it's like, what is best for Tegan? Like sending Tegan to BC was so hard for me. It was so like, well, you know, but anyone listening wouldn't necessarily know. That was like the hardest decision. It's not like, oh, I did it because it's easier for me. Yes, it's easier in the sense because there was so much more drama going around, like with their father and everything like that, that I don't have to deal with that stuff now. But not having my child here with me, not looking at him, not watching him grow, not seeing him be with TJ, you know, or with Romeo, it's been really hard. But the best thing for him was for me to do this, right? So now, like hearing you say that about the GED thing, it's like us as parents getting out of our head of this image of what it's supposed to be, and going back to what we just said, what Catalina said, is meeting them where they're at, right? Like meeting, my phone's gonna die. I'm gonna have to figure out how to set this up so it doesn't die on us. Good thing I noticed, it would have just hung up.
Yeah, but on came on. Oh, we've been on 2 hours. It's 11 o'clock here, so it's great. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Yeah, it's where they're. You know, sometimes, you know, we think that they have to accomplish the same things that we do. You know,
Or that we didn't have the opportunity to, that they do have the opportunity. That's my biggest thing,
right?
right? It's like, it's not, it doesn't, it's learning that just because we thought it was a great opportunity for us and it was something we missed out on, doesn't mean it's the same opportunity for them. And that's what sorry for moving all around, I'm just trying to get it so it doesn't fall. That's what I just got out of what we're talking about. It's like what's the best opportunity, what we thought we missed out on doesn't necessarily mean it's the best opportunity for our children.
Right, right. And for me, it's not. I'm not going to say. I think that was the best choice, you know. And I'm glad that at that moment, whatever that moment was, I had that active, you know, that active listening moment, because I knew that there was, you know, something going on, you know. And you know, there's it's all these active moments that you have, like with my. I knew something was going on with my son, and you know, the person that he was, his dance instructor, all had a good rapport and everything. Called me in for a meeting, and he's in his you know, he's in like his he's my old and high school, his last year of high school, and I noticed that his grades had dipped.
Your oldest, you mean now?
Yeah, my oldest had dipped a little bit. The dance instructor that he was attending, the academy that he was attending after school, one of the requirements is that they do all their home there, and and it's looked over and as one of the requirements. She noticed that he had a little sullen. I noticed it too. And so she called a meeting, and she said, Miss, you and your son need to have a conversation, right? And I looked at my son and I said, okay, that this is a best time, goodest time as any. And I looked, and his eyes started to well up, right? And I didn't know that I didn't know that. Now I understand that I'm an empath. I understand it, spirit.
Yeah.
And he went. There was just a kind of like this voice. This is cry too. There was this in his voice there. After I tell you this, Mom, I don't know if you're gonna love me, or that kind of. And he said, Mom, and his tears just got so crocodile-y. And he just came out, he just blurted it out. He said, "Hey." And I looked at him and I went, tell me something I don't know. You know,
have to look at me. I can feel it. I can feel your guys' energy at that moment.
And I just kind of, I just kind of sat there. And I looked, and I don't know, I think this was Source just being funny. And I said, does that mean I'm not going to get grandkids from you? And he just burst out laughing. We just talk about laughter being so fun.
And that's what our conversation was last time.
Right? Yes. And that was like meeting your kids at where they're at. Because if you're actively watching your children and not judging, some of the things they do, they are, that kind of thing, you get to know them and get to know them deeply. And this word where we say, I love my kids, I never said I love my kids. I say I'm in love with my children. I'm in love with my children. I'm in love with them. Most people think of being in love as something sexual. No, the in love is so deep, so immersed that you can feel them before they call you.
I want to say something. One of the first conversations I heard you talking about was talking about being in love with your children. I don't remember, but that was one of the first ones that made me resonate with you, hearing you and then continuing to follow and listen. That was one of the first things.
I don't know if most women understand it. It's that moment that they give you your child and you hold them up and just stare so intensely in their eyes that energy transfer, that's unconditional love.
Absolutely. And that's what in love is, right?
Right.
Unconditional love.
Yeah. And when we were sitting there, just as he had his crocodile tears, and we were just sitting there, and I was like, and he said those, it cut me when he said, I don't know if you'll love me anymore. That was his perception based off how the world was saying, this is who you are.
Yeah. It means you're loved. Yeah.
Then he, after we had that laugh, and he said, "Ooh," then he got silent for a moment. He looked down, and then he looked back up to me, and he says, does that mean God's not love me? And that's when the tears rolled down my cheeks, is because this little boy who was raised knowing that God loves him, God loves all the little children, all the church songs that we ever sing, everything, thinks that God can turn his back.
But that's because of the way that they make religion to be.
Yeah. then that was also a catalyst that I, you know what, and I never really thought about that. And that's just, wow. I tell you, Source will do a shadow work and not even know it's a shadow work. That's one of the moments that allowed me to start my transition from being a born again Christian to a baby bird right there.
That is Source. Look at this. Here, let me do it this way. Oh, it's gone. Okay. Sorry. That made you do your transition.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the powerful catalysts. Me start going, okay, there's got to be something deeper than that. You know, it's not just about being a born again, getting people to believe on the blood of Jesus and believe that they were sinful and you know, okay, you're sinful and don't believe on the blood of Jesus, you're gonna go to hell, and that whole kind of that whole kind of thing. Oh, you're welcome. I'm still so emotional, but it was one of the, I didn't think about it, but one of the major catalysts that God meets you where you're at. Source meets you where you're at. Why? Because Source is moving in through and as us. I didn't know how to tell my son that then, but if he ever asks me again in one of his where he doesn't feel worthy, that's what I would tell him. Mm-hmm. How could Source, who knew who you were before I knew who you were, ever not love you?
And that's where the switch, right? Because in the religious world, it is that. How many times is it more? It's not about God loving us. It's, oh, God's judging us. Oh, if we do this, we're being judged. Oh, we're doing this, we're judged, we're judged, we're judged, we're judged, we're judged, we're judged. No matter what it is, we're judged. You're a single mom, you're judged. Oh, you had sex before marriage, you're judged. Oh, you have a baby, you know, like all these judgments. And it's like, that's not God. That is man-made perception. God isn't there to judge us. God is there to unconditionally love us. God is within us.
Yes. Right? And to this is what we want to protect our kids from, right? But we the whole sitting there at that moment, knowing that he's going down a path that might be judgmental from everybody else. It was like, no, you're not going to get the judgment from me. I'm going to try to help school you. You don't have to be something you're not. Mm-hmm. You know, and you don't have to be something that other people think of what a preconceived notion of a gay man is, or even in all of the when I came out to my son when he was a lot older, when I finally realized that I preferred my relationships, I preferred female relationships. It was kind of like my son said, "Oh, Mom, the apple doesn't fall far."
He turned it into a joke too, like you did for him.
Yeah, and you know, there were things that, you know, and I came out late in life. I came out in my 40s, and when I came out, you know, when I first came out, believe it or not, I came out to my coworkers. Why? Because it was very interesting. My coworkers accepted me right where I was at. And some of them said the same thing to me that I said to my son. Oh, that's no news, right? You know, that's that. Tell me something I don't know,
yeah.
Right? And then when and that was about in my 40s. So probably, you know, I just kind of, but I kind of dive into it, but I wasn't necessarily this person. See, me and who I sleep is not my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot. I don't want to only have gay friends. I don't want to only have this. They were still into, per- perception.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when people would say, "Oh, you need to go to the gay club, you can meet somebody there," that wasn't what I was about. I was about, I love who I love. Who I take to bed is not my lifestyle. Who I take to bed with me is who I love, who I am going unconditionally with. And my son said, my son got me, right? And the thing is, as I was growing, as I was expanding, as I was becoming me, even though I was listening to some family go, I don't understand. Some family like pretending to put you on a couch and say, let's talk about this, Sandy. Let's see if that's really what to appease them. Then I realized, oh, if I'm going through this, what my son is going through, right? Mm-hmm. Then it's like, okay, we would have conversations. He was in his 20s while I'm in his 40s. We're having these, hi, Peter, how are you? Hi, Luna.
Peter.
We would have this conversation, and understand that, okay, let's work on how we perceive labels first before we're figure out, you can't change other people's perceptions about labels, about an overall label.
But because make an awareness.
You make an awareness, but you can't change them.
Yeah.
You can plant a seed, but you cannot make sure that seed will stay planted. You cannot make sure that people won't dig the seed up, right? And I remember, I don't know where I was, having a conversation, not with my son, but having a conversation with a friend of mine. We were having lunch, and you know how people over conversation and they turn. My friend is talking about if I would change things, and just if I had not met my ex-husband, do I think that I would be able to do the that the gay thing would have came up a lot sooner? And I was telling her, I said, no. I said, she asked me, she said, if you had a crystal ball and it could take you back, knowing what you know, would you change things? And I said no. And she said to me, well, that's you could be the gay woman that you thought you were, or have lived the life that you were. I said I had to live exactly what I lived to get exactly what I got, to be exactly where I am, figure out exactly who I am.
And it's funny that you say that part, because no matter what I've gone through in my life, I've never been, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Oh, I wish I didn't live my life that way, or oh, I wish this. There's never been, I've just had this like knowing there's no regrets. Sometimes I wonder if I would have made a decision with a certain person I dated a long time ago, like if I would have stayed, but then it goes back and it's like, no, I still needed to go through all of this just to get where I'm at, and my flame is going to come into my life, and I'm going to be that much more, I'm going to be ready for him when he comes into my life.
That much more aware of it. And what I found is, I found that I am right where I am in all that, with all I have, even with the loss of my grandson, even with that, I'm right where I should be, doing exactly what I should be doing, having the conversations I am having with my grown children, my grandchildren, my friends, my soul family. I wouldn't change anything. It made me who I am, allowed every part of me to open up to the person that everybody wants to listen to on podcasts, or that are do in a video, or watching a band that helps them expand. And so she said to me, she says, well, that sounds kind of she called it selfish. And then the gentleman that was listening in.
No judgment, but how did she call that? I got judgy there for a second. I'm taking it away. How is it selfish in her mind?
It's selfish being. I don't know. I think what turned was the gentleman that I found out was over listening. When he got up from his seat or his table, wherever that, he put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "You're doing good. You're doing fine. Keep no. You're doing good. You're doing good. You're doing fine. Keep your pace. Stay the course." And he just walked away.
I call those earth angels.
Right? Yes. You're doing fine. Something like that. Right? And that took me away from what she said, because I didn't understand. I was like you. It's like, how is that selfish? Because that's me being me. I'm being me and embracing me. It's me living life and learning from life. It's not always going to feel good. It's not going to always feel it's not going to always, life is not always going to be purposeful the way I see it, or to the way it's viewed from the
eyes,
through different eyes. And I believe he put his hand on me to stop me from finishing that conversation
and feeling whatever negative things she was feeling. Yeah,
right. You know, it's about how we frame things,
but it always has a purpose. It really does.
Always has a purpose. I mean, what was that movie that Oprah did? She did a movie.
Oh, Color Purple.
No, she did the one. It's about she played the goddesses of the universe.
A Disney one.
The Disney one. In the
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
In the Disney one, the little girl goes, "Why does it hurt so much when she tessers and everybody else is tessering and moving through the universe and they're having a glorious moment?" And Oprah's character tells the little girl, no, the little girl says something about not even wanting to go back as herself after they do this glorious, they try to find out where her father tessered to. And Oprah said that it took millions of opportunities and the right time and the right place and the right moment to be that right moment where you were born, the most beautiful you that you are. Now, I'm paraphrasing that, but anybody go to Disney, put Oprah's name in, and the movie will come up, right? And that's it. That there had to be, my kids had to be created in the right time, in the right space, in the right synchronicity of everything. My ex-husband had to be my husband. It had to be through all the pain and through all the joy, all the pain, that each one of my beautiful children that would give me beautiful grandchildren would be made. And why would I and just change just one little thing? Then my beautiful children wouldn't be them. Then my wonderful, magnificent husband that turned into an ex-husband, that turned into my best friend, wouldn't be, right? This is infinite possibilities, and there's more to it, right? And we have to be who we are. And by the time my 40s ended, I found out that it was that me, my spirit, likes creating. Sex is creational. A woman creates her own, or a man may be a cat, but it's in her body. She's creating an orgasm. When a man ejaculates, he's creating that in his own body. A woman may catalyst, but it's creation at its best. And it's not about procreating, it's about creating. So for me, it was like, oh, it doesn't necessarily need to be a man or woman. They just need to be in sync and in balance with their feminine and their masculine. It took me to get like towards the end of my 50s to say, oh, I like men and I like women. And guess what? That before I really got to that, when I first verbalized that in my late 40s, someone in the gay community said, well, you're straddling the fence. You need to choose one or the other. And of course, that stuck with
your head. Yeah.
My ego stuck with it. My ego said, yeah, you're straddling the fence. You got to make a choice, what you got to choose. And then, you know, well, I go for it because it's the norm is you're a female and the female and the male parts fit. So go with that. Right. And then I was just kind of stuck. I just, you know, I just went, am I overthinking this? Am I underthinking it? You know, I had a conversation with my son, and my son went and said, Mom, all those videos and all those books and everything that you're sharing with others, how come you're not allowing them to be shared within you? Right?
You have wise kids.
That meant to me that once again, my children are listening to me, and my words are very, very, very powerful. They brought it back to me, and that hit me like that didn't just hit me. It hit me and sunk in. It, you know, it's not like hitting a tether.
It's like
right. It's like hitting the tether ball and hitting it so hard that nobody can hit it back to you, and wrapping around the pole. And I went, oh, so I can be,
yeah.
I can, you know, I can be who I want to be, exactly when I want to be, how I want to, and express it the way I want to be. And then that source moving and asked me, oh, got it, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But anyway, we are at 11:24. You 3:24 now? Is it 3:20?
It's 2:24. I want to tell you something that happened to me by an earth angel, like a moment like how you said when he touched you like that and said that, and it really stuck with you. I was going to the store. I just left the house. Me and the boy's father were like, it was always chaotic, but I was trying like, because I didn't want to be a single mom and all that. And I wasn't even like, I didn't have, because, you know, I'm smiley and stuff. This random guy came up to me in the convenience store, because convenience store was right across the street. Well, we call it a DEP. And he says, don't ever lose your smile. And that just started, it made me bawl. I started bawling my eyes out, because it was like an angel came to say to me, no matter what, you got to keep on going and you got to keep on smiling. And if something is stopping you from having your smile, that isn't good for you. And it took a while for me to really get that, but that moment stuck with me, because I knew that was an earth angel here to say, you got this, keep smiling. And if you're not smiling, something's got to change, you know?
Right. It's the same thing with me. It was like, I remember a homeless guy. Actually, several homeless people always say, you know, they'll walk by me and say, love your smile. They'll just walk by, right? But I used to go to the Starbucks all the time when I was working. I drop the kids off to their designated bus stops, and then I'd stop at Target, not Target, but Starbucks. I'd walk in, and this guy would always look and say, hey, lovely, what's going on? Love you. And I'd walk out. Right. So one day, he said that. And no, I remember. It was one day I was thinking about something. And usually my mother always knew when I was thinking. When I was thinking
pretty. Me too that time. I was just thinking.
Right.
And then it popped up.
When I think, I look down and I'm walking. I'm active and I'm walking. And so what had happened was he had shifted places where he normally was uh, 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 adjacent from the door, and moved, and he was closer to the door. And I was thinking, and I was walking, and I could see where I needed to turn and stuff, so I wouldn't walk into people. I was aware of that. And then he says to me, he says, "Hey, little lady, where's your smile today?" And I looked up, and literally, this is how I did it. I looked up. I was like this. I was kind of like, but he pulled me out that moment. And he says, "Whatever it is you're thinking about, just put a smile to it, and it'll look much better." Right? And then he was doing something. I don't know what he was doing. He was drumming, and he had his earphone. And so I asked the when I was there, I ordered my drink, and I asked the guy, or no, it wasn't, it was a girl. I said, "Guy out here all the time?" And she says, "Yeah." I said, "Does he ever come in and get anything to drink?" And she says, "Yes, sometimes he comes in and he gets a hot chocolate." I said, "Well, will you give me chocolate?" And she said, "What size?" I said, "The largest size that you have." Right? And when I went out, I handed it to him, and I looked at him in his eyes and said, "Thank you." And he looked at me and he said, "Nobody ever did that. Thank you." And we actually started talking to each other and sitting. He would then hold a table for me to come and sit down. I would normally, I would just go get coffee, go to my car, drive, get to work early, and start doing work stuff, as I clocked in early and giving my time to my job, that thing. Then it was the way it worked out. We would have a table ready. We would sit and talk. We would talk about how he wanted to, he had to stop doing music because he had, some issues with his mind struggles and stuff. And that, sometimes he gets to sleep in the shelter, but that sometimes if he doesn't get enough, he there's not room, And I remember him saying to me, "It is what it is, little lady, till it isn't." Now, this is synchronicity. That's what my mother always used to tell me, right? Right? And I would, there are things that happen in the universe that take what we think are decades and thousands and tens of thousands of years, that is just a blink enough of the eye to source, to put that right person at that right time, at that right moment, that you get to embrace living with, that are catalysts that open you up one moment to that. And you go, just as quickly as he came into my life, he left. And he left, one of the same waitress that I ordered the hot from, I'm going to tell you, this is synchronicity. The same waitress I ordered the hot from, she had left, and she had went to another Starbucks. The time that I stopped seeing him, she had came back to fill in for someone. And she had said, "Here, this is from so-and-so." Now I'm going to tell you, he never told me his name. I never knew his name until he told me his name.
Alert, Angel.
Right? I actually had to say who, and she said, "Oh, the gentleman that you normally," and she noticed for a time before she left, would sit and have coffee and talk, and he would walk me to the car, right? And she says, so-and-so, I think his name was like Steve or Stephen or something like that, but it was spelled really, it wasn't spelled like a Stephen. I think it spelled Stepan. Stefan or something like that.
French way, yeah.
And he knew my name. At some point, I told him my name. He makes sure, because on the card, he wrote my name, right? He wrote Sandra on it. And when I lifted it up, he says, "You're the breath that gave me a new life. Thank you," or something like that, right? And it's those moments where you have them, you have no pictures of them, have a recollection of them, and when it's needed, like right now here, those are the moments that you don't want to change. Those are the moments that if I wasn't in of raising my kids as a single mom, as raising my kids and taking my kids to their bus stop and picking that Starbucks to go to, I wouldn't have never met that Earth Angel.
I'm sure he helped you just as much as you helped him.
Right. And these are things that most people don't think much about.
Oh, I think
we're busy as human beings, not as human beings having as spirit beings having incarnation. Just the human being aspect. We're told this is how you live. You go to school, you get an education as best you can. If you're a woman, education isn't even in the projection of what you do. You get married, let a man take care of you, try to live happily ever after, and then you through those living choices, you just roll with the punch, right? But in that, Source is sending you all these wonderful angels in human form. They're only there in human form for certain purposes, and then they're out of your life. But if you stop a minute and have that, and now I truly understand that your now moments get to see and reflect that goodness of something that happened in a moment of what you thought or what your ego is showing as turmoil. Because when my ex-husband left, I was heartbroken. I thought that I thought something was wrong with me. But through all of the super, oh, I love this, the super women in my life, I got to make different choices. I got to begin to become an active listener in my children's lives. I got to, I got to go, I'm not, my children are going to have to walk in my shoes. They're going to have to know that I'm just as human and unperfect as they are. How else am I going to? That's how I protect them from the world, by letting them know that their imperfections are what they need to put out into the world to learn.
That's my big lesson from today.
Right?
Okay. Well, it's just the next confirmation, because I've already been like, that teaching has been coming to me, and then just to know, just to be me. I don't have to have this mom mode all the time. It's okay to show my kids who I am too, not just mom. Because
right.
Who I am is a pretty cool person.
Right.
I feel like as mom, I'm a little bit different. I'm like, strict and not chill and always stressed. So I just gotta like be me.
Yeah. I think once I began to let go of that, allow my kids to see me and a lot of my fun me, and also a trials and tribulations me, a lot of my definitely
Sorry.
Well, hi Nicole. A lot my kids watch me in all of my phases of my mini skirts and my trying, I remember kids would take up for me because, some of the parents, that kids can overhear everything. And yeah, my skirt, I mean, if I had to wear, this is me. If in the corporate world, I had to wear a skirt or a suit, my skirt was going to be the shortest it could be. Okay. And, my, so I always had these, skirt and, what did they call them?
The suit, like with the suit coat and then the skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they always had a mini skirt. But of course it helped because the mini skirts were in, right? Yeah. But the mini skirts were basically for the younger crowd, right? Anyone under 40 or not 40, but I was doing the corporate life in 30s and my 40s. So I just remember my one of my kids, maybe two women, because when I went to pick up my kids, I roll up in my 1970 Mustang, kind of, and hop out in my mini skirt and everything, picking up from school and saying hi to everybody, whatnot. And I think one of the women must have said something that might negative. And I just remember catching out of my ear my older son saying, "Hey, that's my mom, watch what," or something like that. And but I that was between him and her, and whoever. I just wanted it to be his proud moment, right?
Yeah.
I was like, inside me I was kind of
yes.
raising them right,
Yeah.
they're up for, that kind of thing, so, but, so no, I just, and I don't, to go back all the way back to that, I don't know why my friend would consider that me being selfish, but I think it was
probably her internal side. After we're talking about it, it's her internal thing, thinking whatever you said would make her selfish and she would want to be as free, like to be yourself, right? Like she probably has a lot of stuff inside her. She couldn't be herself or something.
Yeah. It was me. It was like, everything happens for, I just, also and the elders, in my family, as the elders were transitioning, and it got to the point where I was going to now be, the elders in the family, the back then we call them matriarchs and patriarchs, right? So as my mom passed and transitioned, and my uncles transitioned and my aunt transitioned, I kind of wondered if I could do as, worthy as them, because to me it just looked like they did stuff so flawlessly. Not to mean that they weren't going through their trials and tribulations. It looked to me like what they were going through, they just did it with a grain of salt, and sometimes their words, like I know my uncles, my youngest uncle would always say, keep your panties up and your dress down. Very kind of just to the point and very rude, and would embarrass me, because he would embarrass me in front of my friends, especially I used to hang around with
I
friends.
call it crude, like crude talk. Yeah.
But for them back there, it was realistic.
Yeah. That's like my dad would talk like that, and now that he's gone and I reflect and I think of things, it's like you said, it was just realistic for them to talk like that, like that was just the way, not that it was,
but it did it for a while. It kept my panties up and my dress down.
Me too.
Right?
Me too.
For a while, kind of thing. But for me, it got to the point where, okay, all of these wonderful people are transitioning, even though, we have, narcissistic parents and blah, blah, blah. when we look back and we say, of some of the stuff that they said, it was a catalyst to move us in a different direction. Maybe
Absolutely. Maybe it wasn't the right, like for me too, maybe it didn't, like when I was a kid, it hurt, but it did move me in a different direction than like in a direction he wanted me to go, right? Rather than a different direction. And as an adult,
I'm looking at all the roses.
oh,
Beautiful.
but yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
You,
That's a whole other conversation though. I could talk about that forever, about like understanding why things went the way they went, and you know, and whether like I knew as a kid like it wasn't nice things to say and it hurt me, but it worked for me to be the strong person I am today, you know?
and yeah, and like you know what, this live is going to be so long. I'm gonna figure out how to I believe I can save it. So, you know, I feel it's a way to control. When we react to something, it's for a reason. It's yeah, the thing is, what I'm learning is more or less we have to not react from our egoic mind, but we react from our allowing mind, which we were given to create from. So when
Do you think that's like your awareness mind?
yeah,
Is that what you mean? Okay.
the awareness mind, right? And sometimes we come into that awareness mind when things like people try us, or people do something, and it kind of slams on us, and then we go, what? And we take that what moment actually brings you into right now. It's you know, when these people are saying shit that you can't make sense of, but it hurts so much, it puts you in your now moment. And that catalyst that puts you in your now moment gets for you to be non-reactive and more and taking right action and going, okay, I'm going to go this way. That really hurt me, and I'm going to go this way. And it's kind of like a person who has an alcoholic father. If you're reacting based on egoic minds, usually you end up becoming an alcoholic. If you take right action, usually you decide, well, I don't like what they did as an alcoholic, and I'm not going to be. And I know my ex-husband's father was that way. He was an alcoholic, and my ex-husband has nothing to do with alcohol, because he says, I remember what my dad put my mom through. It's not that he didn't ever say didn't love my dad. He just says, I remember what that part of him put us through, and I don't want to be that part, you know. So if you're reacting, his reacting, if he could have reacted, he could have went, okay, I'm going to be just like you. You want to be mean and brutal too? I can drink too, and do that. You know, your ego says, go get back at him. You know, that kind of thing. And your awareness says, who are you going to be in this moment? And right now, the more I understand it, I can use it better. I mean, most of the time I was using awareness, not knowing I was using it. But that was only because I went in a certain direction with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain things that she allowed for me to do. There were certain things that she allowed me to say, as long as I wasn't abusive to anybody else or disrespectful or anything, to go out and find where the puzzle pieces fit. And then, so I don't even think she knew she was teaching me awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then now, as awareness, now as I'm learning more about it and sharing it with others and you know, this kind of thing, I understand it a little bit better. I understand that if we spend a lot of time judging the people that caused us misery, we keep misery opened up to us.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. The awareness part for me, like I feel like I've always been aware around me, but not like you've helped me learn to, like, I'm still not there yet, because after the moment happens is when I'm like, oh, I wasn't aware, right? So it's still work in progress, and I think it'll come. But like, to have in your mind right before you react, like Mel. Okay, so Mel, I'm going to use you for example. She always says that before she makes a decision, she'll sleep on it, right? Like before she reacts to what someone is, like if she needs to respond to somebody and it's not the best conversation, she is aware of that. She's aware that she needs to sleep on it before she reacts, right? So that's like, I'm working on that awareness part, where, you know, like in that moment, that's where it's the hardest, is in the moment. But when we become aware in the moment, our decisions are going to be for our highest self. Right. Like our reactions are going to be for our highest purpose and our highest who we are. And I know that now, because I know, like, afterwards it's like, oh, if I would have just been aware right then, I would have realized that this is what they actually meant. Like my kids, it's always about my kids. Actually meant, and then I wouldn't have reacted that way.
Not the kids, right? I'm telling you.
I do have to go at 3 because I'm going to Costco.
Okay.
I'm going with someone.
Okay, no, I think our anger is also divine. Yeah, because we live in a duality. Anger is an opposite. I learned this from Michael Beckwith, and it resonates with me. It might not resonate with anyone else, but you have to feel the anger, but you don't have to live it.
Yes.
You have to feel it in order to know what it feels like, and what the opposite is that you want.
But if you awareness, right?
Pardon?
The awareness, feeling it, being aware of the feeling of anger.
Right. You have to be aware. You have to be aware that it's moving through you, that it's trying to be a part of you, but it's trying to be your personality. It's moving. It's moving. And if you lean into it and say, oh, I see you. Why is this here? And who should I be? Who am I becoming in this moment, that I am aware that this anger is moving, right? It's moving through me. Who do you want to be? You can say, I want to be this person that holds on to the anger, and then I want to give this anger to the person that the person or situation that made that I believe or I perceive that this anger was created about. Or you can say, what is this teaching me now?
Mm-hmm. And I just thought of it too, like that tool that we now have, like, you know, when we feel like that I can't speak, but like how this is what I've been doing lately, is like, you know, when someone's giving you that energy, and like give the energy back to them, or give it, like, if it doesn't serve our highest self, we don't, especially as empaths, we don't take that on ourselves anymore, right? Because before, I just take on energy, and like it would just, I didn't know that that's what was happening, right? But then now in reflection, I know that I took on so many people's energies, and that's what caused me to like get overstimulated or something like that. But if we don't take on other people's energy, we, you know, like send it back out, and well, we don't need to necessarily send it back to them, because we don't also want people to have these negative feelings on them either, but we just don't feel it anymore, and practicing that tool helps.
It's surrendering. That's
surrender,
why and when you see me close any of my lives or anything, I stand in I'm holding space. I'm standing in that space of holding it, so that if they leave it in my space, they want to leave that energy there. Because some people just want a place where they need to dump the energy, and that's fine. You want to leave it here. I'm going to say any energy that's been left in the space, I'm going to surrender it to source.
Yeah.
And so going to rekindle it. Source is going to, energy never dies. To source, it's just energy. But source is going to cleanse it. Source is going to send it back to that individual, whoever it was, clean.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I send out my energy, I never call it back. I don't want my energy back, especially if source has the love or joy or understanding or wisdom attached to it. Why do I want to bring it back to me when it was supposed to go out and serve the community or serve one special person? So for me, my cup runneth over. There is energy isn't created, and it isn't destroyed. My energy is just keeps coming out. Yeah, maybe I need to take a break and take a rest and give my body, allow my body to rest, because we have these dense bodies that source is moving through. And yes, you do have to rest, and you do have to regenerate. Your cells do have to regenerate, yes, but my energy is always the cup runneth over. And for me, and anybody who's in this live, for me, I believe that which you fear will come upon you. If you fear somebody giving you an evil eye, they're going to give you an evil eye. Mm-hmm. If you, and I bring this up because I had somebody in my complex once ask me about that, because she was into it. And I said, well, she said, oh, I think somebody's sending me the evil eye, and because I have this going on. But it's about your belief. If you believe it, if you made it part of your story, then the evil eye is going to come. Mm. Right? There's two ways it comes. If you believe in it and you allow it, it's going to happen. If you talk about other people doing harm to you, the harm is going to come. If you resist at the same time, it's going to come. So if you resist something that you and by resisting, you're always talking about it. Oh, I can't get it. I got to push it away. I got to push it away. No, let it flow. Don't give it title. Let it flow. If you need to go take a Excedrin PM, go take one, but let it flow. Don't give it name. Don't give it title. Don't give it label. It's the fucking hardest thing to do.
Yeah, it is. And it all comes with time and knowing, right? Like knowing, then you can start practicing. And it's within us too. Like, we have to put in the work. We know something, and that's the difference between like me and someone who doesn't know things, because I have a knowing, it's like it's my responsibility to continue to share and to practice what I know. Like if I know, I gotta put in the work. If I don't know, then it's not. That's what I was saying before. Like some people just don't know about a grander universe. They just don't know because it's never been exposed. But once you know, I think it's our I don't want to say responsibility, but it's our calling to like start teaching and start speaking and start. It's easy.
Okay. Let me go. I need to catch up with him. I feel like a spiritual.
I might. Okay, no, I didn't do it. I gotta check this message.
It's easy for it to turn into fear-based spirituality. I feel like a spiritual pitfall is not feeling our feelings, but analyzing them. You have to, you analyzing them is just another way. Yes, analyzing them and discerning them. You could use the word analyzing and you could use the word discerning, but you have to be aware of them. You have to be aware that you have feelings of fear. You have to be aware that you have feelings of lack. You have to be aware of these feelings. And then you say, well, okay, it's moving through me. Who do I want to be as this feeling of lack is moving through me? Do I want to embrace it and make it me, make it my personality, always thinking about lack? Because if you always think about lack, then what's going to happen? You're not going to have something that you're always thinking about lack about.
And that's back to manifestation, right?
Right. It's easy for it to turn into fear-based spirituality. Spirituality is embracing both. It's your duality. You have to embrace both. without dark there cannot be light, and without light there cannot be dark. They are not an opposing force. At least that's what I believe. You don't have to hold it to be self-evident, in the scheme of things, but embracing it means to know yourself.
Yeah.
Within,
and it's within us what we know, and then what our spirit is ready. Like that comes back to like meeting people where they're at, because sometimes you could tell somebody something and their spirit isn't ready to hear it yet. They're not ready at all. Like I've had, okay, like with being a starseed, like, and like this has been coming to me since I was 18 years old. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't want to know about it. I was too scared. So I pushed it away, even though it was right there in my face, pushed away. It come back in another form to teach me. And I was like, and it just, but now I'm ready, and now I know.
Right.
But like, it was, and that's where I can relate with people who don't want to hear. It's not that I didn't want to hear, I just wasn't ready. Because I heard, I listened, I experienced, and I was like, I just like moved on my life in a different path. Well, that wasn't that path. I didn't deny it, but I was scared of it. So I was like, nah, this isn't, I'm going to turn to this person instead of continuing to learn, like when I was 18. But that's a whole other story that we'll talk about another time, because that could go on.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to close this beautiful, wonderful, beautiful podcast live. And, I'm going to figure out what we're going to do next. Let me know when that Saturday you're available, because we're going to pick this up. And it's just going to be called, I think we're going to call it Coffee, Tea, and Us.
I love it. You said it, and then I repeated it. I'm like, that is perfect for us.
Yeah. So let me know when your next available Saturday is, so that we can. Yes, great talking to you too, Zan. Take care. And for what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out this session, and I'm going to close it out with 10845. For anyone that has that has brought their energy to be transmuted or changed, I hope that source has transmuted and changed it for you for your greater good. I thank you for being part of this podcast. 10845 for the love and beautiful. Oh God.
I feel all the love.
I feel it. Beautiful Casey that joined us and has given us her wonderful clarity. That word came up. Clarity. Unconditional love. Thank you for bringing that to the forefront. I believe somebody has received some healing from your love and your clarity that you have given them. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I also close it with 10845. I appreciate you. I appreciate the space. I appreciate the safety I feel with you, and source and spirit and all the knowing and knowledge. And I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you. Blake, we're closing the podcast and the live. I will be saving it so that you can go back. It is a long live. So if you're going to listen to it, put your phone on, take a long drive, and just listen. It's well worth it. All right. So have fun at Costco.
Yeah. Oh, the 27th will work.
The 27th will work. Okay. I will put that down right now. The 27th. All righty. Oh man, that do you always end up following Jeffrey?
I follow him. I don't always see his story, all his stuff though.
No, but I mean, when he does a podcast, that's synchronicity. He's doing a podcast with me on May 27th, and you always follow up with some
nice.
And it's always synchronistic.
Okay,
too.
I love that.
Right.
Okay, so is Saturday okay then, the 27th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So do you want to do it at the later time, the 2:30, or this time, 12, 9 your time?
9 my time. I think it's perfect. Let's wake people up with
Okay,
it.
cool. Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah.
I'm saying let's wake the West Coast up with it.
And then give
There
the
are
East Coast a good lunchtime combo.
Yeah. So yes, all right. May 27th it is.
Okay.
All righty.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone that has been on my this journey. This has definitely been a Source wants to use the word. Okay. Source says coffee, tea, you, and Source journey.
Oh.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.